Okay, let's unpack this. What if? What if you could actually influence your own destiny? Not, through luck or anything external, but by changing something deep inside yourself.
That's a really powerful idea, isn't it? And it's exactly what we're exploring today, drawing from Vien Liu Pham's four teachings, specifically his advice to his son about, well, correcting mistakes.
Right, the four teachings. And the core idea, which apparently goes way back, even to texts like Zuozhuan.
And Guo Yu. The idea is that good things and bad things, blessings and misfortunes, they don't just sort of land on you from outside. They actually start inside you. They arise from within, and then they show up in your life.
So my internal state, what I'm doing, my intentions, that's actually broadcasting what's coming next for me. Is that the gist?
Pretty much, yeah. The text suggests a sincere heart aligns with, let's call it heavenly will. And if you really watch how someone acts consistently, their basic disposition, good or bad.
You can get a sense of where they're headed.
Exactly. You can sort of predict their future fortune or lack thereof. It's presented as this very personal, internal system of cause and effect.
Okay. So our mission for this deep dive is to really get into the practical side of this. How did Vien Liu Pham say we should actually do this? What are the steps for spotting and fixing those inner faults? Not just to be a better person, but as the actual way to build merit and actively shape a better future.
Right. Let's dig into this classical approach to self-improvement.
So where does the text begin?
Well, it starts with something maybe a bit uncomfortable but honest. It says, look, making mistakes is human. We all do it.
Okay, that's relatable.
But then immediately it insists correcting those mistakes is absolutely essential, like non-negotiable.
And it's not just, oh, try to fix your flaws. The text is saying this has to come first, right? Before trying to get lucky or pile up good deeds.
Absolutely. It's positioned as the foundation, the prerequisite. You can't build something stable and positive if the ground underneath is, well, messed up.
Makes sense. You have to stop the things causing disaster before you can hope for good fortune.
Exactly. You need to move away from the cause of the problem first. Stop digging the hole, before you start trying to fill it with good stuff.
Okay, stop digging. Got it. So, if correcting faults is step one, or maybe step zero, what kind of mindset do you need? What attitudes does Vien Liu Pham say are required to even start this work effectively? He mentions 3 minds, I think.
Yes, 3 essential attitudes or mindsets. The idea is you need this internal foundation before the methods of correction will really stick. The first one is the mind of shame or remorse.
Shame. That sounds kind of heavy. Is it just about feeling bad about yourself?
It's deeper than just everyday guilt, I think. The text describes it as like holding yourself up against the standard of sages, of truly virtuous people.
Okay.
And seeing the gap. Seeing how your own desires, chasing pleasure, maybe things you do in secret, ignoring rules, how that stuff actually pulls you down, takes you away from being your best self. It's feeling genuinely unworthy when you see that contrast.
And this kind of shame, this remorse, is important.
The source calls it the most crucial element, seriously. It's framed as the key that unlocks the whole path to real change, to becoming a worthy person.
Wow, the key.
Yeah. And the flip side is stark. If you lack this sense of shame, the text warns, it leads to recklessness. You just act without thinking and grab whatever you want. And ultimately, it suggests you kind of lose what makes you truly human. Become more like an animal driven by base instincts.
Losing your humanity. Okay, that really drives home the importance. So first, attitude. Profound shame or remorse. What's number 2?
The second is the mind of caution or fear.
Fear. Fear of what? Getting caught. Social shame.
Well, yes, maybe partly, but it's much bigger than that.
Yeah.
The fear discussed here isn't just about other people finding out. It's this deep awareness, this belief that there are higher powers, heaven, earth, spirits, ghosts, whatever you conceive them as, and they see everything.
Everything, even hidden thoughts.
Everything. No secrets, no pretending. It's all visible to them. And this awareness fuels the fear of consequences.
What kind of consequences?
The text says severe faults can bring immediate disaster. But even minor faults, the little things you might brush off, they chip away at your store of merit, your fook, as it's called, your positive spiritual bank account. Sort of.
So every little slip-up has a cost, even if nobody else sees it.
That's the idea. And there's also the fear related to, well, mortality. Once you die, the chance to repent is gone. Kaput.
Oof. Finality.
Right. And fear of a bad reputation lasting for ages, plus potential suffering later on, maybe in the underworld. It's a whole package of consequences, seen and unseen, short-term and long-term. It really makes you think twice about minor faults, doesn't it?
It definitely does. Okay, so we need shame to see the gap, fear to understand the stakes. What's the third attitude?
The third is the mind of courage or resolution.
Courage. Courage to face yourself.
That, yes, but critically, it's the courage and the firm decision to act immediately, decisively, to change.
Ah, so it's active.
It's very active. The source uses some really strong analogies here. Small faults, they're like thorns in your skin.
Yeah.
You need the guts to just yank them out right away, no
You
hesitation.
might pull it out.
Yep. And big faults, serious ones, they're like a poisonous snake bite on your finger.
Wow.
The text says you need the courage to instantly, without a second thought, chop off that finger to save your life. Don't delay, don't rationalize, just cut off the source of the poison.
That's intense. Cut off the finger. No hesitation.
Exactly. It's about decisive self-intervention, not just thinking about it. And this courage, this decisiveness, is linked to growth. It references the Yi Jing, hexagram Yi, which is
Yeah.
about increase,
Hmm.
suggesting this bold self-correction actually leads to benefit.
Okay, so those three attitudes, shame, fear, and courage, they're the internal setup you need.
They're the bedrock, yeah.
Yeah.
Without them, the methods we're about to discuss might not really work.
Right. So let's get into those methods. The text outlines 3 different ways to actually correct mistakes and suggests they aren't all equally effective.
Correct. There's a definite hierarchy implied. The first, and maybe the most obvious one, is correcting from the deed or act.
That sounds like just stopping the bad behavior.
Exactly. If you lied yesterday, today you just try really hard not to lie. If you flew off the handle, today you try to consciously suppress the anger. You target the specific outward action and just stop doing it.
Seems straightforward. What's the catch? Why isn't that the best way?
Well, the source says it's the most basic and ultimately the least effective. The main problem is you're only dealing with the symptom, the outward behavior.
Ah, not the cause.
Exactly. The underlying desire, the thought pattern, the impulse in the mind that led to the bad action that's still there, untouched.
So you're just like whacking the weeds but not pulling the root.
Perfect analogy. And because the root's still there, the fault is hard to truly get rid of. It might just pop up in a different way or come back strong when you're stressed or tempted. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes constant effort, and it's likely to slip out. Not a thorough fix.
Okay, so correcting the deed is maybe a temporary fix, but not the real solution. What's method number 2?
Method 2 is correcting from principle or reason.
Okay, this sounds deeper. Understanding why it's wrong.
Precisely. This involves using your intellect, your reasoning, to truly grasp the underlying principles that make an action wrong or harmful. And the text gives some really detailed examples.
Like what?
Well, take killing, for example. Instead of just saying don't kill, it suggests reflecting on things like, heaven values all life. Animals suffer immensely. It uses the image of crabs being boiled alive, really visceral.
Ouch.
Right. Also, realizing all beings fundamentally want to live and fear death, just like us. Understanding the karmic payback, you create enemies when you kill. Thinking about how complex meals aren't really necessary, simple food is enough. And the idea that if you harm nature, you can't reach a state where nature, like, respects or supports you.
Wow, that's a whole philosophy built around not killing, not just a rule.
Right.
What about something like anger?
For anger, the reasoning is about empathy and self-reflection. Realize everyone has flaws, everyone struggles. If someone insults you for no reason, the text argues that shows their lack of cultivation, not yours. Getting angry just means you're taking on their problem.
Huh. That flips it around.
Totally. It says truly wise people are humble, strict with themselves, but really tolerant of others. So they just don't have the internal basis for anger. And often, if you're complaining about others, it probably means you haven't cultivated yourself enough.
So my anger at someone else might actually be about me.
That's the implication.
Yeah.
And again, strong analogies. Getting angry at someone ignorant is like trying to burn the empty sky. Pointless, right? Nothing catches fire.
Right.
But if you do get angry, you're like a silkworm spinning its cocoon. You're not hurting them. You're just trapping yourself in your own negativity.
Those images really stick. Silkworm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the benefit here, correcting from principle, is that once you deeply understand why something is wrong, you naturally start to avoid it. The understanding itself guides you. It's more lasting than just forcing yourself not to do the action.
Makes sense. Understanding the why changes your motivation. Okay, so principle is better than just stopping the deed. What's the third method, the best one?
The third, and presented as the superior way, is correcting from the mind or intention.
Going right to the source. Why is this considered the ultimate method?
Because the core idea is that all faults, every single one, originates in the mind, starts as a thought, an impulse, a desire, lust, greed, anger, whatever. If the mind itself is calm and pure, if those initial negative stirrings don't happen,
Then the fault can't even begin.
exactly, you stop it before it even gets started. The text uses this lovely analogy. Cultivating good thoughts is like the sun rising. It just naturally dispels darkness, dispels demons or mist.
Ah, I like that. Sun dispelling mist.
And another one, it's like cutting the root of a poisonous tree. If you cut the root, the whole tree dies. You don't have to keep hacking away at the branches forever. Dealing with the mind is dealing with the source.
More effective, more permanent.
Right. And this approach allows you to become sensitive to those negative intentions the moment they first flicker in your mind, when they're still small and subtle. If you can catch them then, recognize them, and calm the mind, they just dissolve before they become a full-blown fault.
That sounds powerful, but maybe difficult.
Oh, definitely. The source acknowledges this is the highest and hardest path. So it suggests if you find correcting purely from the mind too challenging initially, you can combine methods. Use principle to understand why. If necessary, use deed to suppress the action as a last resort. But the ultimate goal, the direction to strive for, is always cultivating that pure, aware mind.
Okay, so aim for the mind, use principle to help, and deed if you must, but know it's the least effective. Got it. Now, if someone's trying to do this work, what kind of help is useful? And are there signs that it's actually working?
Good questions. The text mentions needing support. Good friends are key friends who aren't afraid to gently point out your faults, your blind spots. That's invaluable.
Honest friends, yeah.
And it also suggests seeking help or witness from, again, those higher powers, heaven or spirits, through sincere prayer, or even writing down your faults in a formal way, like a petition you offer up.
Wow, like making a formal declaration.
Kind of. Making a commitment beyond just yourself. And crucially, it emphasizes continuous, sincere repentance, Samhoy. It's not a one-and-done thing. It's an ongoing process of cleaning house internally.
Okay, so support, commitment, ongoing effort. What about signs of progress? How do you know if anything's changing?
The text does describe potential signs. You might notice things internally, like your mind feeling clearer, sharper, maybe suddenly understanding things you didn't before, like a boost in intelligence.
Oh, interesting.
Feeling a deeper sense of inner peace, maybe real joy. And noticeably, an absence of hatred or resentment, even towards people who've treated you badly.
So positive internal shifts are the main indicators.
Mostly, yeah. Though it also mentions specific types of dreams as possible signs, like dreaming you're vomiting up dark stuff, symbolizing purging negativity.
Okay.
Or dreaming sages are helping you, or that you're flying freely, or seeing auspicious things like banners. These are presented as signals that inner blocks are clearing.
But I bet there's a warning attached to seeing those signs.
Absolutely. A big one. Don't get complacent. Don't see a good sign and think, great, I'm done. These are just indicators you're on the path. The work needs to continue, always.
Right, it's a journey. It sounds like really hard work, though. Does the text talk about why it's so difficult for most people to even see their own faults clearly?
It does, and it uses another fantastic analogy. It says, ordinary people often have a superficial way of thinking, and it's like their eyes are covered by a film.
Film?
Yeah, this film stops them from seeing their own faults, which compares to the spines on a hedgehog.
Huh? The hedgehog doesn't see its own spines. That's brilliant. Obvious to everyone else, but not to itself.
Exactly. You're covered in these prickly faults, but you're just completely unaware from your own perspective.
Okay, that explains the difficulty. And does it mention what happens, like what it looks like when faults aren't being corrected? Are there signs of that too?
Oh, yes. It details specific physical and mental signs, suggesting these aren't just abstract flaws, but things that actually disturb your well-being.
Like what? What kind of disturbances?
Things like having a mind that feels disoriented or often depressed, being forgetful a lot, getting really vexed or irritated over small things frequently, feeling uncomfortable, even ashamed when you're around truly good, virtuous people, actively disliking or feeling uneasy when you hear about righteous principles being discussed.
So like an aversion to goodness itself.
Kind of. And this one's interesting. Trying to help others, but consistently finding they resent you or misunderstand you instead of being grateful.
Yeah, you mentioned that before, like your good intentions are somehow curdled.
Right, suggesting some inner issue is messing up the outer interaction. Other signs mentioned are having really erratic dreams, or even sleepwalking or talking in your sleep. All these disruptions, the text suggests, can be outward signs of unaddressed faults stirring up trouble inside.
So looking at these kinds of patterns, the irritation, the forgetfulness, the weird dreams, could actually be a way to diagnose yourself, according to this view.
It's presented that way, yes. A framework for self-assessment. And it feels surprisingly relevant, doesn't it? These classical teachings, they offer this structure for self-awareness, for improvement, that you can absolutely apply today. We've looked at the core idea, destiny shaped from within, the crucial attitudes, shame, fear, courage, and the methods correcting the deed, the principle, or ideally the mind.
And as you listen to all this, you might start to wonder, do any of those signs of uncorrected faults ring a bell? Do you recognize that hedgehog, maybe, in yourself? The quick irritation, the discomfort around certain people or ideas, maybe even those strange dreams.
It really lays out a choice, doesn't it? According to this source, you can kind of continue on, maybe stuck with those internal spines and seeing the results play out.
Yeah.
Or you can take this path seriously. Consciously start the work of correction, cultivating those attitudes, using those methods, really focusing on purifying the mind.
So wrapping up this deep dive, the big takeaway from Vian Liu Pham's 4 teachings seems to be this incredibly empowering idea. Your destiny isn't fixed. It's shaped by what you do, and even more so by your inner world, your thoughts, your intentions.
And correcting your faults isn't just about being good. It's the essential first step, the proactive groundwork for building a genuinely better future. It takes those core attitudes, that deep shame, the healthy fear, the decisive courage, and these methods that go beyond just stopping bad habits.
Right, getting to the why with principle and ideally cleaning the source itself, the mind.
Exactly. And just to underscore how serious and ongoing this work is, the text gives the example of Kwa Banuk, a respected wise man. He started intentionally correcting himself at age 20. But even when he was old, looking back decades later, he still felt he hadn't fully rooted out the faults from his youth, still saw room for improvement.
Wow, decades of work and still finding flaws from way back then. That really tells you something. It's not a weekend workshop kind of fix.
Not at all. It shows it's a lifelong commitment, doesn't it? Continuous self-watching, continuous refinement, even for someone highly cultivated.
It really emphasizes the depth required for real change.
Absolutely.
Which kind of leaves us with a final thought, something for you to chew on. If even a dedicated, wise person like Kwa Ban found this to be a lifelong task, constantly finding more to work on, well, what does that suggest about how diligently, how honestly we should be looking into our own hearts and actions? Maybe, starting right now.